Alrighty. Good afternoon, good evening, team. So this is week 6, and this is our training video for our employees. So this is by Eric Sandoval, our Human Resource Management for the Public Sector, and today's the 16th of August. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So the topic I selected was workplace safety, the basics. Today I'm going to be talking about workplace safety, the basics. So essentially, this training is mainly for new employees, but honestly, these are things that are important for everybody in the workplace to know. So when we hear the words workplace safety, I do know that at times it can sound like another required training that we have to get through, but safety is actually something that affects everybody. Even something that seems small, like a wet floor or something blocking a walkway, can turn into a serious problem if nobody takes care of it. So today I'm gonna go over some basic things we can do to help ourselves and the people around us be safe. So a lot of this is to recognize common workplace hazards, prevent accidents, and know what to do when something is unsafe. All right. So audience and training outcome. Um, so um, so here essentially the audience for this training is new employees working in general workplace. The reason that I chose new employees is because starting a new job usually means learning a lot of information at once, and safety be one of the first things they understand. So the goal of this training is pretty simple. By the end, employees should be able to recognize some common workplace hazards, understanding basic ways to prevent accidents, and know what to do when they notice something unsafe. I also don't expect anyone to become a safety expert from a short training like this. The main goal is to give employees some basic knowledge that they can use while they're at work. All right. So, why workplace safety matters? So, why does safety matter? Well, some of them are to, as mentioned here, to protect employees, prevent accidents, reduce workplace injuries, create a safer work environment, help everyone do their job confidently. But before we get into the safety tips, I do think it's important to talk about why safety matters. So, of course, the obvious answer is that we don't want people getting hurt at work, but workplace safety is also about preventing problems before they happen. So, for example, if there's a spill on the floor and someone notices it but just walks past it, another employee could come along, not see the spill and slip. Taking a few seconds to deal with the problem or report it could prevent an accident. So safety isn't just the responsibility of one manager or one safety person. Everyone has a role in keeping the workplace safe. Now, a video strategy. So my video strategy that can be utilized, as I mentioned, is a PowerPoint presentation, visual examples, speaker explanations, realistic workplace situations, short and easy to follow information. So, but essentially, I did choose PowerPoints for my video strategy, along with spoken explanations. I thought this was a good choice, primarily because workplace safety is something that can be easier to understand when you actually see examples. I can show a picture or describe a situation on a slide while explaining what the employee should do. I also didn't want to put too much information on each slide. If someone is watching a training video and the screen is filled with paragraphs, they're probably going to stop paying attention pretty quickly. So instead, I keep the slides simple and use my speaker notes to explain the information. This makes training easier to follow and gives the audience a chance to focus on the main points. Now, for some of the training concepts, the training concepts that were selected was motivation, relevance, repetition, active participation, and feedback. So when developing this training, I used 5 different training concepts that I found in my research. So I chose these because to me they all make sense for a safety training. Safety isn't something people should just listen to once and forget about. They need to understand why it matters, recognize how it applies to their role, and know what to do when they are actually faced with an unsafe situation. Okay? But then we also want to have motivation, right? So why should employees care? Why is it important at all? So the first training concept I used was motivation. I applied motivation by explaining why workplace safety matters to the employees. If someone doesn't understand why they should care about safety, they're probably not going to be paying too much attention to the training. So, for example, something as simple as cleaning up a spill might seem like a small thing, but if that spill was left somewhere where someone could slip and get hurt, um, so the motivation behind this training is pretty straightforward. The things we do every day can help prevent accidents and protect ourselves and the people we work with every day. So that's something that we always want to be mindful of. I remember working at Home Depot, and the amount of workplace injuries that can occur are endless. So I resonate a lot with this information. Now, relevance. So the second concept I used was relevance. So I try to make information relevant by using examples that could actually be seen in the workplace. Things like a spill on the floor, boxes blocking a walkway, an emergency exit that is blocked, or someone using equipment incorrectly are all situations that could realistically happen. And trust me, I've seen it happen many times, not just at Home Depot, but when I worked at Costco as well, when I worked at Sam's Club. Um, Instead of just saying be careful at work, I'm giving examples of what employees should actually look for. I think that makes training more useful because employees can connect with information to things that they may see during the normal workday. So as I mentioned, being able to apply what we see on the videos to what they can encounter out in the field. So active participation and feedback. The fourth concept I used was active participation. So, for instance, instead of having the audience just sit there and listen, I wanted them to think about what they could actually do. So, here's a quick situation. Imagine you're walking through your workplace and you notice a wet floor in an area where a lot of people are walking. What would you do? You could just walk around it and keep going, but that doesn't really solve the problem. A better response would be to warn people nearby and report that spill, or you follow your workplace procedure for cleaning it up if you're trained and if it's safe enough for you to do so. This gets the audience involved because they're thinking through the situation instead of just hearing a list of safety rules. And then we also want to give feedback, right? So the fifth concept that I selected was feedback. Me personally, I think feedback is very, very important. Um, it's really important to one's development. But also they need to know if their response to a situation is correct. So going back to the wet floor example, simply walking around the spill isn't the best response because the hazard is there for everyone. The better response is to make sure people know about the hazard and report it, or at least know how to handle it. So according to workplace procedures, the important thing is that employees understand what they did right, what they could do differently, and why the correct response matters. So feedback can also help employees more confident and feel more confident instead of being afraid of making a mistake. But also we could dive into going into the actual training. So conducting the training. We want to uh I'm sorry. Because the first basic safety practice is simply paying attention to what's around you. So as we've been touching bases on, it's easy to get focused on your own task and forget to look around, but things can change throughout the day. So to go back to our spills, you might notice a spill, something blocking a walkway, damaged equipment, or an emergency exit that has something in front of it. If you see something like this, don't assume someone else will just simply take care of it. If it's safe to correct it, you're supposed to handle the type of situation, take the appropriate action. Otherwise, report it to your supervisor or whoever is responsible for the safety. But also, in the end, safety is everyone's responsibility. To be able to wrap it all up, safety really comes down to being aware and being willing to take action. We talked about recognizing hazards, using workplace properly, being prepared for emergencies, and reporting unsafe conditions. We also looked at how motivation, relevance, repetition, active participation, and feedback can make training more effective. The biggest thing I want that everyone to be able to remember is that safety isn't just about following rules because someone told you to, but it's about making sure everyone gets to go home safely at the end of the day. So if you see someone doing something unsafe, don't just walk past it. Think about what you can do safely. Follow your workplace procedures and report it when necessary. And I do thank everyone for following along with this training.